Good morning, everybody. I just woke up, so that's why it's good morning for me. But hey, welcome back to the podcast, Vintage and Stuff with your boy Drew Heifetz. Today I have Monarch Studios, Shaun Flynn, his third time on the show. Why did I get him on three times? Because he's finally opened a store, and now he has a whole new story to tell you guys and value to share with you. We dropped so much interesting knowledge on this show. He tells his whole experience of being now fully into brick and mortar retail. He is in Pittsburgh. He's been in the vintage game quite some time. He's got an interesting take. He does very well for himself. And he shares it all with you guys on the podcast right now. So make sure you tap in, listen up, take notes. And super stoked to be back. Shaun Flynn, Monarch Studios. Let's go. Welcome to Vintage and Stuff with Drew Heifetz. Welcome to Vintage and welcome to Vintage and Stuff with Drew Heifetz. Welcome to Vintage and welcome to Vintage and Stuff. Drew Heifetz. Welcome to Vintage and welcome to Vintage and Stuff. Vintage and Stuff. We got vintage clothing by the rack. Yeah. Just check out my Insta. How you gon' argue with that? Everything you see, I manifest. I'm an architect. I think I'ma run it back. We got vintage clothing by the rack. Just check out my Insta. How you gon' argue with that? Everything you see, I manifest. I'm an architect. I think I'll have some of that. Okay, Shaun, back on the podcast. This is your third time on the show.
Three-peat.
This is the three-peat. You're the only one who's done 3 episodes, which is crazy. And I wanted to get you back because obviously I love talking to you. I think you're a great guy. I always enjoy our conversations. And you actually have your store open and running and popping now, because last time we spoke was like just before you opened, pretty much.
Correct. Yeah, it was like a month and a half out. So a lot has changed since then, which is kind of crazy.
Yes, I want to talk about all that shit. But anyway, I wanted to get a mood check of you right now. What's your mood check, my man?
I'm good. I mean, honestly, I feel like there is a lot of frustrations that comes obviously like with this business, and my biggest thing nowadays is like learning and just taking everything day by day, trying to learn a lot from the youth too, because I think like, especially during that period of time, I was so tapped out of like retail. Like I was just doing online.
Yeah.
And just between like the live selling, my website, posting, everything, it got so monotonous where I kind of like my frustration, which that person may have like actually seen me during that period of time, is I got into this like for the love of clothing, and like money came and went. It wasn't always about like the business per se. It was about the actual love for fashion, for secondhand, for things I wanted when I was a kid and couldn't get, and now like, you know, become attainable. And I think a lot of it comes down to the speed of where we're at now. And I'm sure you see it too, where like everything is just so fast paced, even within the vintage community, where I'm like, bro, some people just need to chill the fuck out, honestly. Like, it's just a piece of clothing. It's just, you know, an estate sale. It's whatever it is. It's not like this late breaking news, to me at least, because I've been doing it for so long, that sometimes I'm like, I have to take a step back and kind of understand this is new to a lot of people. And I remember that excitement when it was brand new, and like wanting to show someone my first 70s piece, 60s piece, where now I kind of like have to become the old head sometimes and kind of like just take things, you know, day by day and learn from them. So there definitely like has been frustration, but at the same time, it's taught me a lot. Like, I don't look at it like a negative. I look at it like, oh, okay, well, things have changed here, here, and here. I need to understand this more from their perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, that's an interesting take, and I'm thanks for clarifying that. And I think we all find that the business does move super fast. We all have different like takes on it. You know, the the takes vary, right? Like I was talking to a homie last night. I'm not going to say his name because he's super salty, and he loves to like say how fucked up the business is, and like how it's changed, and how like it's like he'll like send me all these things that these kids are doing to like acquire goods or sell goods, and like he'll
Right.
just take the piss out of them super bad. Like he's so angry at them, but I'm like, they're hustling. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Right.
You
Right.
know. But and then there's the other side of the people who are like very quick to adapt and they're like right in the new scene, and there's different takes on it. On today's episode, the things that I do want to dive into, because we've already talked so much about your past, is like the store, of course. I want to talk more about what you just kind of mentioned, which is like the pulse check on the scene. I love kind of chatting about that shit with you,
Mm-hmm.
chatting about trends in the scene. As you say, now that you're in retail, you're seeing trends come and go way faster. You're buying from the public, which is like a whole new thing for you, and
For sure.
I'm doing it too, so I can speak on that a little bit. I want to know about your processes in the store. Yeah, and then fucking see where this thing kind of takes us, man.
Love it. Sounds great.
Awesome. But first, what I'll do is there's like, on kind of a pulse check on the vintage scene. Um, I have like a few vintage happenings, we'll say, and it's funny that you kind
Okay.
of touched on that. Like everyone's got to like show their thing, but these are like bigger vintage happenings that have happened in the last little while, kind of groundbreaking things. And I'm just gonna talk. We'll talk about them and get your take on it, I guess. So the first one is $250,000 pair of jeans sold. It was from Brit, which I don't know where he
Yep.
got them. Maybe he got them. He belayed down in a mine and got these
Mining.
jeans, but but I don't think he did. I don't think he did. And he sold them to Mushroom, which is, I would say, apart from Berber Gin,
Number one.
yeah, number one, like the number one highest end dealer in Japan. And then Mushroom sold them to G Rags right in front of Brit at the event, which is kind of like funny thing because you're like, I sold them to you, now I'm watching you get like way more money for them to this other guy.
You gotta love it. You gotta love
You
it.
gotta love this business.
Yeah.
But it seemed like he was in good spirits about it. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this like groundbreaking pair of jeans?
I love it. And I think people like miss the value, like understanding that this is a historic artifact that now can be replicated, duplicated, remade into, their own version of that pair with other Japanese, fabric and whatnot. I think it's good for the culture. I think it's something though that also it's a very hard thing to depict online because you're obviously looking for that viral content,
Totally.
that moment. So you're showing it to the public in a certain way where they may not have that 10 years, 20 years of understanding where this business has grown to. They just look at it like a dollar and they're like, what the fuck? Why are these people spending $250,000 on a pair of denim? But I think it's really good. I think it's good, and I think that in a lot of ways that may be undervalued sale, which is kind of crazy to say. But I mean, to the right person and what they're trying to do, the value it goes way beyond a dollar point. So
Yeah,
I think it's
totally.
cool.
So to give context to people listening to the episode that maybe don't, like you said, like don't have the 20 years context of the vintage market and where it's been, they were apparently the best representation of the earliest pair of Levi's, like that are known to exist. So it's like a wearable dark wash pair of like 1870s, I guess, like early 501s, like the earliest 501 known to exist in wearable, good, great condition.
It was wild that they were stamped too. The inside pocket was stamped. And I don't know. I've never seen like pants that old, so I just didn't really think about that. Like if someone were to bring them in, I would think they were LVC, or that I would think that they were, a newer reproduction just based off of that stamping. So I thought that was cool to see, and obviously adds a ton of value, with all
Yeah.
the minor details and stuff like that. But yeah, it's crazy though. It's definitely crazy.
That's interesting. Sometimes our brains are like trained to like look for things to be fake so
Hmm.
much now that like we will see something real and instantly like write it off. You
Right.
know, you write it off as fake. Like I got a load of T-shirts the other day, and I'm so trained now to think like any good rap tee. I'm just like
Fake.
instantly like it's fake,
Yeah.
or like a Nirvana tee instantly it's fake. But then I like sent a bunch of these to my sources. Thank you, my sources, for like authenticating because I don't see enough of these anymore. I don't see enough of the fakes to like really like know the minor. Obviously, I could tell the main things, but when they're really good fakes, I can't tell. So I sent them out, and they were all real, but I wrote them off as fake because I was like looking so hard for them to be fake.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I do the same thing in store. It's really I won't buy high end when I'm vending. Like when I'm in a moment at a show, I can't do it anymore because it's always so fast paced. I'm dealing with customers, I'm checking out, and then someone brings me a $500 Metallica shirt, and I'm like touching it, and the fakes are so good nowadays. I used to be able to just go like this, and I would know immediately. But now it's like, okay, I want to actually take some time the same way the shoe guys have to do. And I mean, I'm not sending them out to any check or whatever the fuck, but like I'll send them out to a couple of my guys that I know
Yeah.
and then at least get a better understanding before I purchase it. But I can't be like, oh yeah, here's $500 anymore. I can't. I used to like know off the rip, but it's gotten kind of crazy with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure. Especially, yeah, in those T-shirts. I mean, the denim and different like true vintage stuff. I don't see. I don't see like fake reproductions. Like you see the LVCs, but there's obviously
Yeah.
telltale signs. Those are easy signs. Yeah, interesting. So, I love. What's your sweatshirt? Is this a '70s champion?
90s. It's a
'90s
90s champion. Yeah.
U.S. Naval
Uh,
Academy. It's beautiful, man.
I'm hyped on it. I just got it back to I sold it to my buddy. There's some things I like. When I sell them, I'm like, hey man, I'll pay you this cash back. If you ever want to sell it, bring it to me. So luckily I got some good homies. Shout out to Pittsburgh, all my friends around here. They know I like clothes. So like worst case, they'll always get their money back.
You like
Yeah,
clothes?
I do.
Shocking.
Yeah.
We're on a vintage clothing podcast, and this guy likes clothes.
Hey man, not everyone does though. Like, that's the truth. I mean, especially as this grows and people in America see it more. I mean, when me and you first started, I mean, especially when you first started doing this, man, obviously, there were some comps and there's like, oh yeah, I could get into this as a business and do this and that, but it's grown exponentially, to now when, mom and pops and people can see this and be like, oh wow, I could start a business out of this. So
Yeah,
it's
totally.
changed. Yeah.
No, 100%. All right, another kind of vintage happening is a heart shaped box. The Canadian heart shaped box tee sold for 13K.
Damn. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Damn.
This is actually a Canadian seller because it's the Canadian version of that shirt, the
Yeah.
rarer one, right? With that, so the Canadian version of the heart shaped box. Well, I guess we'll put one on screen, but it doesn't have the
It
all
just
over
has the
print.
heart. Yeah, it just
Just
doesn't
has the
have
heart. Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, a homie from like my home area, which is so random. There's a store near where I grew up. He sold it for 13K American, which is actually 18K Canadian. So for the Canadians, they're like, "Damn, that's like almost a
Whoa.
$20,000 shirt." So yeah, what are your thoughts on
I
that?
don't know. I don't know. I see. It's so funny because if you would have asked me this a couple years back, I could like totally comprehend it. But now with there's just so much in the t-shirt realm that's being produced, whether it's streetwear, designer, all the vintage clothing, Instagram brands, all this stuff. I've changed like I really won't spend more than 200 on a personal on a t-shirt
Yeah,
where I now will be willing to pay more for jackets, for, good sweatshirts, denim. Um, I can respect it, and in the rarity of it, I don't think I mean, that's a high sale, but like I have nothing wrong with it. I just think that the realm I'm in now is like vintage as a whole, where there was a period of time I was so honed in on just graphic tees and this and that where I could kind of rationalize spending $1,000 on a t-shirt and being like, oh yeah, like but that has to go to the right collector. I mean, it's a great sale. It's awesome for vintage. That's all I really have to say in terms like I got nothing wrong with the sale,
yeah,
but
totally.
I can't really comprehend it as much. Where like the one of one garments, the things, because obviously those were still mass produced at the end of the day, right? I would
Yeah, they,
think.
they would have been, but I think because Canada only has like 10% of the population of America, it would have been a lot less of them.
Okay.
I'm
Have you
assuming.
ever had one?
If I did, it was way before that shirt was worth anything, and we would have sold it for like 200 bucks.
$100, yeah.
But I don't remember having it. Obviously, I've had the all over print one many times.
I never have.
And shout out to this guy. His name is Not For Sale. Don't Ask on Instagram. Again, he's from Niagara
I love that.
Falls. He's the homie.
That's
I guess
fire.
he actually had it up there, and he kept getting offers, and eventually he just like eventually everyone breaks when an offer comes in
Right.
that's like, this is going to break me. I need the money. I'll take the money, right? And what happened was, I might get him on the show because he's got a cool story about his store and stuff, and I want to talk about this. But he kind of briefed me on the story. I guess like you don't want to send a $13,000 shirt in the mail and have it be like lost.
Right.
So it was sold to a Thai person, which is not shocking at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But the Thai person sent a friend all the way from Vancouver, flew out to pick it up, paid cash,
Let's
flew it
go.
back, so like they could make sure. Like, I mean, I guess you're spending a lot of money on something. You want to make sure you're going to get it, right?
Well, I feel like that's the difference. Is now we're talking about like true collectors that have the bread, aren't looking to put that back online immediately for 14 grand. Like, if you're willing to send a homie all the way out there and pay cash and get it back, he obviously paid more than that 13,000. The money wasn't the
Yeah.
issue.
He
He
would
would
have
have
paid
paid
at least
whatever.
$1,000 in the flight probably to get it out to get that too. Right?
100%.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. Is like there was a period of time when I think the word collector was kind of like loose upon, well, hey, all these guys are still selling. Like the shirt is arriving in the mail and then it's being posted for sale again. Then it's going to the next person and then the next person. Where now I think it is going to hit a period of time when like these true collectors that are going out and buying these things, the market really is whatever they say it is, because there's nothing else out there. So if that guy wants to list it for 30 grand, that's the price. You can't really. I think it's interesting like that.
Yeah.
I think it's a
Okay.
good thing too. Yeah.
Quick little intermission here, just so you know, this is the free 45-minute version of the show. If you want to get the 2-hour episode of the show, you just got to go jump on the Patreon or become a member here on the YouTube channel. So you can just join up on the YouTube, and in that members only section, there will be the full episode, or tap down below, go get yourself a free trial membership to the Patreon. You listen to this episode for free, and then it's just $5 per month. Thank you guys. I appreciate everyone who's already on the Patreon. I appreciate the community that supports this show. There's so much knowledge dropped on this show. Shaun tells everything. He tells his whole story of running the store, how he does it, all the ups and downs, all the tips and tricks, all the secrets. So great episode. All right, go get on the Patreon or join here on the YouTube. Back to the episode. So I got another fun topic that I want to know your position on. This is like Le Garbage, who you might know.
Yeah.
And
My girl was just showing me this.
Okay, so he had an event recently called Distress Fest in New York, and then he did one in LA. And he's known for selling like thrashed and fucked stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Britt is also known for selling like thrashed and fucked stuff. Like when he used to go to the bowl, like sometimes his booth would be like remnants of like old chin strap shirts and one leg of a jean. And you're like, we'd always like joke about it. And whenever we found something that was thrash, we'd call it a Brit piece.
That's pretty cool.
Like that was our nickname for it.
Yeah.
At that time, or in the early days, he was the only one kind of showing up at Bowl with like stuff that was that fucked up. But anyway, now it's kind of mainstream. There's this whole Distress Fest, and obviously with the whole bando boom, people are getting more of this fucked up shit, right? So what are your thoughts on like a $3,000 sweatshirt that's like hanging on by a thread or stuff like that? And I guess like, would you buy it if something like that came into your store?
A good example is I have a black active Carhartt hooded one right now, and it's like you can't use any of the pockets. It's totally gone, but it looks like something you would see an NBA player wear in the tunnel. It looks like it's an incredible piece, and like people ask me all the time, and I say $1,000. Like if I really want to sell it, it's $1,000. I mean, someone may look at that and that's like a $50 piece, but now we're in the realm where I don't think people want vintage to look brand new. I don't think because you can go to Urban Outfitters and buy a heart shaped box or buy, a Nirvana t-shirt. So why would you want to go and buy the 90s one in brand new condition with tags? Even though to us, we're like, holy shit, it's crazy that this has a Spencer's tag on it from whatever. But I think that there is value it just depends on your clientele and who you're trying to push to. So like a good example is my goal and what I'm building out the shop is I want to sell someone their first pair of Levi's at $20 all the way up to, that $1,000 pair when they get way deeper into collecting. And, I want to be an entry level all the way up to, your collectors. So if your market is strictly those people and that's what you have, the price is the price. I mean, would I personally pay out of pocket for it? No, but I can respect why he's charging that. And I also understand the rationale behind it because would that person want a brand new afterhood? Maybe, but like there's a reproduction that someone can get that's brand new too. So maybe you want it to have that character. And I've sold some flannels that like they're missing one sleeve or none of the buttons work. And some of the Japanese buyers, they really like that. They want that for their shop. So maybe I undersell them. I'm like $15, but like,
Yeah.
it is
No,
what it is. Yeah.
I think that's a great take on it. It is, you're right. People don't want vintage to look new. Good example of that is like it is harder to sell dead stock. And it's
For
funny
sure.
because as vintage dealers, like you said, we enjoy it. Because we enjoy the hunt for dead stock, because when you find a dead stock score, it's like a big deal.
Yeah.
But it is harder to sell in a lot of cases. Like it was obviously not the same case when we're talking like snapbacks and sportswear. Obviously, dead stock
Right.
is what you want for that. But when it comes to most other things, dead stock is harder to sell. Um, and the basic example of this is like a faded black tee versus like a
Mm-hmm.
black tee, right? Like I swear, like you can have like a shit graphic faded black tee and it's going to sell in a heartbeat. If the fade's really good, it's going to move,
Mm-hmm.
because people want it to look used. That's the point of vintage. And stuff like this crazy distressed sweatshirt is just like the extreme example of that. And like you said, it looks like it's something Balenciaga would make or like
And
some
that's the thing
crazy
too.
design
Right.
brand or something. So yeah, I think we're gonna see more of it, and it has to be. It's important. Like it's hard to put something like that in like your store maybe or my store and like have the same intrigue. It's kind of got to be like curated at like an event or like with other
Right.
things that are like of that nature to, or like because you don't, it's tricky. Like you're saying you want to be entry level but also like up to like the collector high end, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of like we span that gamut too, right? But like I won't put like some $4,000 piece hanging on the wall in my store. Although I did sell like crazy Bando 517s recently out of Main Street, which were like fucked. Like they were
Yeah.
rotted. I washed them. The rot like all like turned into holes, and they looked crazy cool. And someone bought
Hell yeah.
them. Because yeah, like I'm saying, I'm putting certain things that are really high end, high price, interesting. It kind of flies over a lot of people's heads, and then it like confuses people. You know what I mean? Like, how do you feel about
Yeah,
putting
but
something like
then
that?
no, it's like the people that come to me and like they seek the shop, there are a lot of times that buyer who comes in and they ask me, they're like, dude, did you get anything like that that I would like? And I'll just keep it in the back. So I'll
Yeah,
show, it happened to me today with my buddy Yee. Like I brought him out like 5 pieces, or there were some pieces I grabbed this morning off a guy, and I wanted to show him. So I may not put them on my like right on the rack, but
yeah,
I want to have them within arm's like length of me in case that I don't want to someone that's going through this just never vintage shop before and they're looking for a $20 t-shirt. I don't want them to go 2,500 and they're like, what the fuck? Like, what is this?
yeah,
So that's like
totally.
one of the hardest things in our business. And I think it's
Yeah,
something that it's been a learning experience for me because trying to do it all out of one shop where you're out of multiple locations with this product, right? Like there's some things you're
Yeah.
going to send here, some things you're going to send there, some things are going to be only online type stuff.
Yeah, and then some things I'll save for clients like you do, but they're not typically
It's
like
hard.
they're not coming to my store. Like our Gastown store is kind of like smaller, more curated. It has probably a higher percentage of like high end, but again, like
Yeah.
we try to cap that at like $500. Sometimes we'll put like $1,000 piece in there if we think like the general public will get it. And then my other store is more like everything, and Whistler's like has a lot of high price trendy shit, but not
Yeah.
high price weird shit, right? So yeah, there's different stores, but I like the idea, like you're saying, like as people will come in, and one question I had was kind of on that line, yeah, because like you said, like if someone sees that $500 shirt next to a $20 shirt, they might see it, and then that like turns them off, like continuing to shop.
Oh yeah.
So you kind of like lose a customer. One thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is like price point. Price point in the vintage game is very important, right?
Mhm.
We want to be like known as a fair place to shop, right? You want to be like competitive with what else is probably in Pittsburgh. Do you think about this for your shop?
All the time, dude. Yeah.
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 So if you're not competitive and something gets priced like off, that's like, say, like, I don't want to use the word offend someone because like who gets offended by a price, but people might. They might get offended by a
They
price
do.
because they're like so sensitive, right? And
For
then
sure.
you've lost a customer maybe now forever because you overpriced one stupid thing, and now they're like, I'm not going to go back there. So you got to be careful about that. And I just think people don't understand how important your pricing structure is.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the coolest things. So with the store that we're in is 6,000 square feet, and then we're building out the top floor right now, which is another 6,000 square feet. In my store, we have so much product that it hit a point when I was like, hey, it's just me and my girlfriend. Like, I'm just getting these pieces on the floor for the how many people that are walking in on a Thursday. I can talk to them and I can, if something isn't tagged that they're interested in, I'll take care of them.
Yeah.
So there was a point in time when I had like this rack from a show that was it was supposed to be tagged for a show, but somehow it got pushed out onto the floor. It was like Metallica shirts, there's a Tupac shirt, stuff like that. And for that weekend, no one even grabbed off that rack. And I was literally telling them like, hey, just so you know, like this t-shirt rack right here, there's nothing over $30. So if you like anything on that, it's between 20 and $30. I'll take care of you. And they still weren't gravitating towards the high end shirts. It may have been that particular weekend or whatever, but I started to kind of learn and I'm getting like a much better understanding just from that weird. It was actually the weekend your brother was here.
Oh no way.
I was getting all my stuff out for Black Friday and stuff. And it's been a cool like learning curve through that because it's like, okay, what are people willing to spend? What are they looking for? And are they really interested in maybe what me and you are really interested in? And it's not always the case. So like what I'm trying to do with the upstairs now is totally separate that. So all my distressed t-shirts, my military, my collectible goods will be upstairs, but I'm still going to be selling them at a fraction of the price compared to the shops that are right across the river in Lawrenceville, which is like the pop-in like hipster area of Pittsburgh. Cause people, I mean, they'll be charging like 150 for 90s 505 Levi's. I have them in the shop for $30. So once we start advertising that and really pushing that, I want to be kind of like a denim, depot upstairs with trying to help people out and have as much variety as possible for a fair price. So I think the price point is definitely a very much a learning curve, especially for me that was doing online for so long after COVID and shit, when it was just like, hey, I'm going to put this out whatever price. I don't care. But now I'm like, I want to have that variety where if someone comes in and they only want to spend $20 or $10, like there's something in here for them. It may not
Yeah,
be, you know, it's interesting.
totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I want to continue like talking true vintage a little bit. So obviously we know, like everybody knows, that the true vintage heads in the game, there's more of them coming out of the woodworks. There's more like people turning towards true vintage. Obviously, it takes longer to learn. So, as the business matures, there's more people getting involved in true vintage. And we just saw inspiration happen in Tokyo. And like, I feel like more Americans went to Japan in the last like 2 months than I've ever seen go there.
Yeah, it's
And
been looking crazy.
it's been looking crazy. And there's way more people going there now to do pop ups and different events. And um, yeah, even Britt hit me. He's like, man, I wish I would have gone to Japan more to like learn throughout my career. Cause like by the time you learn of a trend in Japan, they've already been buying it from America for like 5 years and
Right,
like crushing with it. You know what I mean? But I mean, that might change now with the speed of the internet and everything else. But so yeah, like, I want to talk to you about True Vintage. I know that you're getting interested in it more. I know that probably partially because it's, you're maturing in the game, but also like it comes to you randomly.
right.
So like, do you get a lot of stuff just showing up at the store?
Now that I've been posting it, and see, here's the good thing. People know if they come in with me, if they come in with bags of clothing, my goal is to buy everything. I'm not picking and choosing. I'm not being like, hey, I only want to take your high end pieces. You got to take this. I lump it all together, give a price for that bulk number, and usually the rationale behind it is they came in here hoping to sell everything.
Yeah.
They may be getting a little bit of a lower price, but at the end of the day, they understand that I have to move, 25% of shitters, and I'm going to make my money off of
Yeah.
I'll make my money back off of these like 4 or 5 pieces, but the rest of it is going to take some time to sell. So luckily, through doing that for the past 5 years pretty seriously, we've been able to compile a good amount of older clothing that I always thought was cool, but I didn't feel like the market was here in Pittsburgh yet. It just, with every other trend and the way things operate in my head, I always like, this feels way too good. Like someone's going to dig this. So I was just always kind of thinking long term with it. So when the true vintage stuff like started to become more mainstream, I was just digging through like my old bins, like going into my military bin, going into my sweatshirt bin. And I didn't I never really was like seeking it out in terms of like what it was worth back then. So now it's changing a lot for me because I'm having to pay up more for it. I'm having people come in that are collectors that are coming to me knowing I'm interested, but they also may value it at a number that I was not comfortable with. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
totally.
So that's been a learning curve, especially with buying it from the public. I get lucky sometimes, like people that go to estate sales and like I have a high end shirt or like something that they want to trade up towards, and maybe like there will just be a '60s crew neck that's like in the mix with the other stuff they're trying to trade towards, and they'll be like, hey, $10 like trade or something like that. So sometimes I get lucky, but it is becoming a lot harder to come by, a lot more expensive, just because I don't think people have really any understanding of like the price point of it. So it's interesting.
Can you think of like one or two crazy things that have come in like that over the counter? Even if you had to pay up, like what's the coolest things that have come in?
Uh, 60s 505 Levi's.
Big E,
My
obviously.
buddy James, yeah, my buddy James brought them in. They had flowers. They were just embroidered, like, or not embroidered, but like stitched little flowers on them. They're real dark denim. Um, a bunch of made in USA Chuck Taylors. I got a 70s Fruit of the Loom, that was all like painted up. Just a gray sweatshirt that was cool. Let me try and think what else. What's the craziest thing that's come through? I mean, this Bob Marley came in recently, just a rap tee that was nice. Um, not any like. really crazy, like, denim jacket or a pair
Yeah.
of jeans, it's usually the people that have that, they're now starting to realize that I have a deeper appreciation for it. And when they're bringing it to me, they are offering, I mean, I'm going to pay up a little bit to get it. So it hasn't been as many like off the street. When I opened up, a dude literally like with two massive garbage bags was like, I saw you had some jeans, and they were just filled all like 80s Levi's, nothing super. There's one pair of 70s in there, but no 60s or prior. But I think it's just a matter of time,
Yeah,
because especially I'm in a small town, an older town. I know there's a lot of good stuff in some of these houses,
for
and
sure.
uh,
So what about the old? What's the oldest best pair of Levi's you've ever actually had, like
pants.
in your whole career? Yeah.
I mean, since I've been in the shop, probably. I mean, I like the distressed ones. I've had some really cool 517s, 505s, similar to what you were saying, like fresh off the farm, bando style, like just look like the, punk rocker, just badass. Those are my favorite. Like I'm wearing Ironheart Japanese denim right now that I like a lot. I've gotten a couple pairs of like more modern, like good salvage denim come through. Probably those ones my buddy James brought through, those Biggie 505s. I mean, I think I
So
sold them for
you've
five
never
hundred
had you've
bucks.
never had like a pair of like bucklebacks or like
No,
double X's even.
never,
Crazy.
never.
But
Yeah,
you did have like okay, so as far as like best pieces ever, I know you sent me a picture of like a denim chin strap chore
the chin
jacket.
strap was good.
Did you sell that eventually?
I traded it.
You
Yeah,
traded it?
I
Okay.
traded it out. Yeah, the best one I ever had, in my personal opinion, was it was a senior jacket, with the writing on it. But what was really cool was this had all original drawn artwork, Disney artwork on it, and you could tell the guy was just a badass. Like he had something written on it for girls' phone numbers, and all of the phone
Nice.
numbers were like 4 digits. So I think it was a 30s jacket. And what's hard for me, and like I think people get frustrated sometimes by the price point of some of these things. And a lot of times it's because the person that's trying to buy it from me or buy it from someone else is trying to sell it then to make money. So they get frustrated because you may be asking what they want to ask type thing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
totally.
So, that one in particular, I got through a trade. I paid like close to $500 in the trade, and I was just kind of told that it was worth less than it was worth. And then when I looked at it in person, I won't sell this for less than $6,000. Like I was just like looking at it, and I'm like, I don't care. Like I'm like, whatever. You know what I mean? So I think that gets frustrating, and like, but people want it to add to their curation and to do this and that, and kind of have to understand that like we're all doing the same thing. So I don't really I'm not real pushy about like buying shit. Like I'm like, hey man, if you want to sell this, I'm here. If not, like you can keep it, you can go do whatever you want. But I think that sometimes like the frustration for me, and kind of like the change in mood that guy may have seen and shit like that, is like there's a pushiness to this, and there's a point where I'm like human. I'm like, I'll slap a motherfucker. Like I don't like. I'm like, it is what it is. Like I'm like, if it may be a piece of clothing, but like, why are we getting hostile over this? Like why are we pushing each other so much? That's just my
Yeah,
thing.
and but there's also, do you ever have the FOMO when stuff comes in and you're like, the price isn't meshing, but you're like, I just want it so bad, like this
Oh
thing's so
yeah.
cool, or you like haven't had anything cool come in a couple days, and then something really cool does, and you're like, you're probably overhyped on it because
That's when
just
I throw my bottom number. Then that's when I'm just like 300, take it or leave it.
yeah,
And then they'll be like 320, and I'm like 300. That's the number. So, I mean, yeah, it's a learning curve. Like I feel really blessed to be in this business. The fact that get to meet so many good people. Obviously, there's some frustration, but that's going to happen with any line of work. And I think it's just important to like have fun. Like at the end of the day, this is a blessing. Let's enjoy it. Just closed. It's about, swagging out, styling, having fun. And the money comes and goes, the money comes and goes.
Yeah, sure does, bud. Sure does. So, keeping on this topic of like Japan and true vintage, do you get Japanese clients coming to your store?
Yeah, you motherfuckers probably blew it up. Once you and Jesse were here, or once Jesse was here, posting Pittsburgh's the hotspot, man.
Where's the
It's been
commission,
the
dog?
hotspot.
Where's the commission?
You should be giving me a commission. No. Honestly, I'll say it right now. I think Pittsburgh is the best vintage city in the country, in all of America. I know Indianapolis. I know the guys go to Detroit. I know they love Portland. I just think the variety that we get in PA is unmatched, especially when it comes to the older stuff, the denim, the quality of sellers here, the amount of my friends that have stores, have showrooms, and it's across the board. Like my friend Cody, shout out to Cool Breeze Trading Company, he specializes in very unique, true vintage pieces that you won't find throughout the rest of the country. Just he's very, very particular, and he's taught me a lot. Some of my friends have taught me a lot. Like sometimes it's what people have to also understand is you got to pay to play. So sometimes you may get not as much money you expected on an item or like someone, but they'll explain to you. And, I've learned a lot from those deals of, hey, this is why. I want to price this at this because of this pocket, the way that it, blase, whatever. So I think it's cool kind of seeing that the amount of Japanese buyers that have been coming to Pittsburgh that originally, like, I would have my appointments, my couple guys, and now it's people that are randomly coming in on a Thursday, on a Friday, on a Saturday that I've never met before. And I'll message the other store owners and be like, hey, did this guy come in randomly buying 90s t-shirts? Like, they're buying such a wide range of stuff now, which is super interesting to me too. Like, it's not just the older. They'll ask like, "Hey, do you have any other stuff in the back, or can I go look through your back?" But they're getting. I'm getting a very wide range of international buyers, which has been fun and helped us grow for sure.
Yeah, that's rad, dude. So we got to throw it back here to your comment. Pittsburgh is the #1 vintage city in America, as noted by Monarch Studios, Shaun Flynn here. So you heard it here. I got to get out there, dog. Got to get out there, and everyone's got to get out there and check this out. We want to know other people's opinion. So, what's your opinion? Actually, let's use this as a good question moment. What is your opinion of the best vintage city in America? Is Pittsburgh the best vintage city? If not, we want to know what you think is in the comments below. Because those are bold words. And, Jesse loves it. I got to say, Jesse's been loving it. He's
That's right.
Hyped on it. He loves the city for, like, lots of reasons, not just the vintage. But I don't doubt it. And I think more, like, it's always just been fucking LA, New York, like these major metropolises people flock to. But the problem is those centers and a lot of other centers like Houston and these certain fashion vintage centers are like blown out now, right? There's not a lot of like actual supply there. It's just where people go to sell, basically, right? But somewhere like Pittsburgh, there actually is supply.
Right. I mean, I think, don't get me wrong, like the first time I went to California and, when we went to Inspiration, together, and I learned so much just from walking around and seeing pieces that I have never seen before. Don't get me wrong, like these hubs where all the pieces go in terms of the quality that's there across the board, yeah, but where did it actually come from originally? And a lot of us aren't buying from out of state. We're buying from, in person from people that found stuff in PA, Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York. So I just think it's a really cool hub where you can not only find affordable vintage, but also you're able to really find some unique pieces that you won't find throughout the rest of the country at an obtainable price compared to, like, obviously there are places in LA and New York that incredible, like, curation, everything, but it's also coming from, like, well, how much money do you have invested in that product? Like, I know guys that have probably paid $1 to $10 an item and have collections like I've never seen before. So I think it's definitely a bold choice of words, but I think across
Yeah.
the board for price point, quality, and also the friendliness of Pittsburgh, baby, we're in the mix. We're in the mix.
All right, you've come to the end of the free 45-minute version of the show. Now, if you want to continue on for the full 2 hours of Shaun dropping so much amazing knowledge, dropping so much value on you guys, talking about his whole experience running a store, how he runs the store, what his best sellers are, how he does his buying for the store, all the amazing things that makes his business run so well, all you got to do is jump on the Patreon. It's just $5 to get on the Patreon. That's less than $2 per episode. And link to the Patreon is down below. Also, you can join here right on YouTube. The full episode is on the paid membership on the YouTube channel. You get a free trial on the Patreon too, so you can actually tap into this episode for free. You just got to go get on the Patreon down below. All right, that's it. Thank you guys so much for tapping in. It's been amazing. It's good to be back here. More episodes coming up next week. And thank you, Shaun, for all that you do and all that you share. You guys really got to go jump on that Patreon and listen to the full episode. Thank you guys. See you on the next one.